How's everybody doing out there? We're back. Strike Fighters 2, back to the F-105 campaign, following our guy, Curtis Bradley. And this is mission 14, 4th October 1965, so again, only one day has passed. I wonder if the game considers us to be in an offensive, because the offensive mission rate is sometimes different than the regular mission rate, and that's only like one day. So this is the third day in a row that we've been going up. So I guess that would be more like what the pilots were actually doing at the time, rather than they certainly were not waiting for 4 days, but for for gaming purposes, spreading it out makes a little more sense. Anyways, hey, how you doing? Welcome back. We're with the 334th Tactical Fighter Squadron, flying out of Tockley, and we've got an interesting mission today. We're striking a strategic target located in Vietnamese, but it's not really, it's not like a building. Attack and destroy the enemy full train. I can't remember the last time I've been assigned to actually attack a train, so that's why I'm quite excited. So we're going to try some different things today. We'll see. I'll show you in a second here. Call sign is Dagger. We are 4 F-105s, and we'll take off at 10:22, so a little bit later in the morning, but not really late in the day. Looking at the map. So here's our destination. So here's Vietnamese, and we're actually, looks like we're going to be on the other side of the Red River here, on the south side. So we're not even going full on into the, we're still in Route Pack 6 up here, but we're not going full on into the Hanoi area. I feel like this is a little bit on the outskirts here, so it's not really, but it kind of feels like a light mission. But yeah, so we'll come in, we'll hit this train, and then we'll depart down to the south. Our escort today, I believe, where are they, is going to be Rambler, and these are 4 Crusaders from VF-11 off the Midway. And they'll be coming in today. That should be our escort. Who knows what we'll find out here on the way in. Could be more MiGs again. Honestly don't know, but I guess we'll find out. Random MiG-17s stationed up here at Dien Bien Phu. Kind of far away, but they might be a factor. Anyways, let's look at the loadout, because this is where things are going to be interesting today. So, Dagger 1, we're back in aircraft 0166, and the 61, by the way, 61-0166, that indicates that this particular airframe was built in 1961 at the Republic plant on Long Island. And this is the aircraft we've been using the whole time, so still going. And today I'm going to be packing 2 Sidewinders, 2 AGM-12 Bullpup B missiles on the inner pylons, which I don't think we've used. Maybe I used these in one of the very early Navy campaigns, but it's been a long time. These were the very early guided missiles. They were not self-guided, though. They were actually flown by hand from the pilots. In the cockpit, they had a small joystick, and there was flares on the end of the missile, and they would follow it down. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more on the way in. And then I've got a centerline drop tank. So a little bit lighter today at 46,500 pounds. But Dagger 2, he's also got Sidewinders, but then he's going to have sort of our standard centerline 6 750-pound bombs on a multiple ejector rack with 2 wing tanks. So he's going to be my backup. I'm going to try to use those bullpups today, and just in case they don't work or I do something wrong, we've got the bomb backup here. And Daggers 3 and 4 are going to be our rocket ships. So here's Dagger 3 loaded with 2 LAU-32 rocket pods, and then he'll have a single incendiary cluster on the bottom. I figure an incendiary bomb would be pretty devastating to a train, especially if it's, at this point, still made out of a lot of wood, like wood box cars and whatnot. So we'll see. So that'll be a backup. And same thing with Dagger 4. He's got the 2 rockets, and he's got a cluster bomb on the center line. The AI will always fire rockets first. So that is, I'm considering that to be their primary weapon. So they'll rocket up the train. I can try these bullpups, and then everyone sort of has backup bombs to finish it off, just in case these weapons are somehow not adequate to the task, but I think they'll be fine. Finally, the roster. My wingman in 2 is going to be Second Lieutenant Thomas Null. Dagger 3, First Lieutenant Bernard Gilmore. And Dagger 4 is going to be First Lieutenant Ron Askew, whose condition is 100. Conditions and morale... Oh, his morale's not great, Captain Bruce Brown. But conditions are holding up pretty well here. And we're about a month into this deployment. The 334th got here in September of 65, so we've been flying missions for just over a month on this deployment. And that's going to be it for the briefing, so let's head out to the runway and let's get this little experiment underway. Like I said, I'm excited for it, so I'll see you out there.
Dagger 1, tower, wind 120, at 5, clear for takeoff, change to departure.
All right, we're clear for departure. Let's get underway here. Airspeed is alive. There's 80 knots. There's 150. I'm going to look for the standard 180 knots here for rotation. There we go. Come on, buddy. There's 10 degrees. We'll hold 10 degrees. Gear up. Flaps up. Manually switch right over to waypoint 3 because there's no point in hitting 2, but I'm just going to continue on up here. We'll make one circle, come back around, and then get on course. There we go. There's 400 knots. 2's airborne as we're off the afterburner. I'll continue the circle here, holding 400 knots. Set the radar out at 80 miles. There's 3 up. You can see once again we have another cloudy day. So after I was being so worried about the weather being too nice, here we have a couple of gray days in a row. So I'm happy to see that. And 4 should be up momentarily. So let's get around. Get on course. Waypoint 3 is going to be 118 miles away, and that is just outside of NKP, Nakhon Phanom there, and that is also right on the border between Thailand and Laos, and then after that we'll be over Laos, and then into North Vietnam. You know the drill. You guys have been with me before on this. All right, here's a look at our Bullpup missiles. These were the early attempts at guided missile technology, again being controlled from the cockpit by the pilot themselves. The problem with the Bullpup is because they emitted a huge flare out the back and a smoke trail in which the firing plane basically was in. It followed the missile down. The North Vietnamese gunners were able to inflict lots of damage on aircraft by firing into the wake of the missiles. They were able to just know that there was going to be an aircraft following behind there.
Radar contact.
So that was not great. It was also found that the warheads were too small. They were used early on especially for trying to knock down Vietnamese bridges. except that the reinforced concrete of the Vietnamese bridges, many of them made by the French prior to the war, were not affected by the Bullpups. They would hit and essentially do no damage, or do minimal damage and be repaired very quickly, and caused a lot of grief to the American planes early on, who would get hits on targets and then do no damage to them. And it really wasn't until the later, far more automated laser-guided bombs in 1972 that started to make a big difference against the bridges specifically. But something like today, where we're just attacking a non-hardened target, like a train, that might be right up the Bullpup's alley. Might be a little more effective at that, so we're going to give it a try. The way it works here in the game is that it does essentially work like a guided missile, in that you select the target. You got to make sure that that you have a target selected, ground target, and then get close enough within range, and then fire the missile, and it will track. Maybe. As with all of the weapons of this time, there's a very high failure rate. In this case, the missile wouldn't actually be failing because it doesn't have guidance, but it might be representing the inability of a pilot to be able to see well enough to get like a precise hit. So, in-game, the Seeker head has a range of 8 nautical miles, so we just got to be within that, and so less than 8 miles, and have a target selected, be pointed relatively at it, and we'll see if we can get him to track and see if we can get him to hit. It's been a long time, like I said, since I've used these. If I've used them at all, I don't know. I may not have even used them in an episode. I think I messed around with them for fun in some of my, offline campaigns years ago, but it has been a minute. All right, there's 22,000 feet, climbing up at Mach 0.8. I'm going to go up to 25,000 feet and cruise at, 8.5, I guess. Honestly, I was too lazy today to look up what all of the limitations on these particular weapons are, mostly because we have such a wide range of weapons on all 4 aircraft. So, not going to worry about it too much today, but we kind of know what is, what our limits are. Of course, they're all for fun anyways. The game doesn't limit you in any way. There's no, it's not going to rip the weapons off or cause them to become inert. It's not going to damage them in any ways, but it's just for a little bit of historic reality fun that we just impose, these things on ourselves. It's a very old school way of playing from way back in the day, let's say the 80s or 90s, where you just sort of had to make your own rules. But we know clean that optimal cruise for the F-105 is Mach 0.9 and 35,000 feet. And usually loaded, it's between 25 and maybe 30 somewhere, and about Mach 0.85. So we're just going to eyeball it today. Now, like I said in the last mission, these wingmen are lagging behind a little bit. I did go in and I adjusted the mission timing to try to make that work a little bit better. Shaved off about 2 or 3 minutes. So we're going to see if that works out or if it was all for naught. Here's Rambler 11. So these are our escorts. These are or what I assume to be our escorts. Oh, look at that. VF-111. Got a whole flight of airplane boys.
Flight airborne.
The Sundowners, this particular scheme with their shark nose, when I was a little kid, so somewhere between 3 and 5, that's when my parents worked at the New England Air Museum, and we had an F-8 Crusader out on the outside exhibit, and it looked just like this, a little worse for wear, having been sitting outside in the elements for years, but it had the shark nose and the eyeball on it, and little Devin called him Airplane Boy. Airplane Man was a B-25 that was in pieces out in the back, and I think I called him a man because the cannon sticking out of the nose looked like a cigar to me. So he was a man, and The F-8 was Airplane Boy. And that plane was later sold, and Airplane Boy is now fully restored and actually sits on the USS Midway down in San Diego at that museum. And I'm hoping to maybe visit there with my dad next year. He's planning to come out here to California to do a visit, and we're going to hit up a bunch of different air museums in the area. So maybe we'll go see Airplane Boy once again. But here they are. Today they're looking over us. A whole gaggle of them. ASP 11, what do we got here? I think these are A4s. These might be Marine A4s out of Da Nang. Nope. The more Crusaders, VF-211, the squadron that I flew with in my Crusader campaign. Also VF-211 were our Tomcats on board Enterprise during the 03 deployment. And it looks like they are totally decked out for air to ground. You can see they've got the bombs and rockets. And there's only 2 of them, so this seems like AAA suppression if I had to guess. I would venture to wager that, and they might even be coming out to our same area. They might be going to Viet Tree as well. I know that there were... Here they are, Marine Skyhawks. So Anvil, so these guys coming out of Da Nang, and they are striking a different target.
Anvil 1, Red Crown. Copy.
Kang Tree, I think, if I remember right. Somewhere out there. Here's our target today, a small train pulled by a very rough approximation of a 141 class steam locomotive, which would have been very common in North Vietnam at this time. Railroads were first introduced to Vietnam in the 1880s by France. When Governor Paul Doumer arrived in 1897, he especially prioritized building rail infrastructure as a way to increase colonial trade. He submitted a proposal that would become the basis of the 2 main railroads in Vietnam, the North-South Railway, which would eventually connect Hanoi and Saigon, and the Yunnan-Vietnam Railway, which connected Hanoi and Haiphong to China. The North-South Railway took almost 30 years to complete, with large sections left unbuilt due to difficult engineering obstacles, but between 1936 and 1940, the railroad finally reached completion. The distance from Hanoi to Saigon was 976 miles, and riders could make the journey in 48 hours. For comparison, Chicago to New York is the same distance, and riders on the Pennsylvania Railroad during the same era made the trip in about 16 hours. Trains on the Trans-Indochina Railway, as it was called at the time, were pulled by French steam engines and included full dining and sleeping cars. In the north, the Yunnan line connected Haiphong Harbor to Hanoi and then on to China. Part of this system was the enormous Paul Doumer Bridge crossing the Red River in Hanoi. The railway traveled northwest from Hanoi over the Chinese border to the city of Kunming in the Yunnan province. This route, 530 miles in length, was completed in 1910 and was planned to be used to export European goods into China and import Chinese opium and mineral resources. Following the Japanese invasion in 1940, Vietnamese railways would not operate smoothly for decades. During World War II, Viet Minh resistance fighters would sabotage rail lines and bridges. Allied bombing raids would do additional damage. With the war over, the French returned to take back the colony, and the Viet Minh continued to sabotage the railroads to oppose them. The First Indochina War saw more mass damage as the French tried to keep the rails repaired to move troops and supplies. The Viet Minh actually removed hundreds of sections of rail from the main lines and carried them off to create its own 190-mile-long hidden railroad near Da Nang. The Second Indochina War, what we call the Vietnam War, saw the most damage to Vietnamese railroads as they were targeted by the North, South, and U.S. alike. The North-South Railway was split at the demilitarized zone, but sections within both the North and South were targeted by bombardments and sabotage. U.S. airstrikes concentrated on rail lines and bridges to slow North Vietnamese logistics. Famous bridges that claimed many F-105s and other aircraft were part of these lines, such as the Paul Doumer Bridge and the Dragon's Jaw Bridge in Tan Hoa. The Yunnan Railway was especially important to North Vietnam as it was the lifeline to its sponsor states, China and the Soviet Union. Arms, ammunition, supplies, and equipment all would roll down from China on these rails. The Sino-Soviet split in 1961 saw additional drama on these tracks as China began to stop Soviet cargo at the border and often confiscate it. This forced the Soviet Union to switch to primarily using Haiphong Harbor to ship equipment by boat during the war. However, Chinese supplies continued to roll into Vietnam over the Yunnan line. The railways would not be fully restored until 1976, a year after the fall of Saigon, when the new communist government repaired the heavily damaged north-south line, sometimes calling it the reunification line. The Yunnan line was operated for a few years, but bridges at the border were destroyed in 1979 when China and Vietnam went to war. That line would remain closed until 1992 when the two countries finally reopened rail trade. During the Vietnam War, locomotives in the south were a mix of diesel-electric, gas-powered, and steam locomotives, while the north seems to have remained primarily steam. Several hundred steam locomotives from the pre-war Trans-Indochina Railroad were divided between North and South Vietnam when the countries were split. The South used a mix of steam and diesel at least up until 1968, while the North relied on steam all the way till the end of the war and beyond, with some examples operating until 2002. The South Vietnam diesel roster included American and French units from companies like General Electric and Renault. 14 rail trucks were light locomotives built in 1940 using 60 horsepower American GMC truck engines. They were used to haul small loads over damaged sections of track that could only bear limited weight. During the Vietnam War, General Electric was supplying the South with BB907 class diesels, while China was supplying the North with ZL class steam locomotives. The ZLs were 282s that were copies of the French 141 class that were used by both North and South Vietnam. Diesel Electric would only become the dominant class following the war and reunification, when the new government inherited the South Vietnam locomotives and began to purchase new Russian and European locomotives. Bullpup missile is selected. I wonder if you can ripple the... I actually don't know if you can ripple the air-to-ground missiles. Just set it to 1 just in case. Might be possible. Honestly, I have so little experience with air-to-ground missiles in the game that it's not something that I have explored too much. Alright, so bogies are up, heading northwest. That might just be because they're only just taking off now, I suppose. This will be the first time that we're not going around the north side of Thud Ridge. How about that? Staying south of the river. I'm hoping that we'll be far enough away from the two cities that maybe we'll avoid most of the AAA coming up from them. We got lucky last time. Lucky 13 had no AAA, which does happen occasionally. It might have been a glitch, but in sort of a happy accident, it does kind of mirror what the crews would experience over Vietnam, which would be some days inexplicably the entire defense network would just be down.
Waypoint 4 at 1 red crown. Copy that. Dagger lead red crown. Bogies 12 o'clock 50 miles.
Interesting. So they're dead ahead, but heading north, so up towards the Chinese border. Again, I assume that's only a temporary vector. They're probably just circling around. I doubt that they're continuing north. Probably just the direction that they're going when they were reported. right, 56 miles to our initial point. We've got something there on the radar. It's possible that that might be our target, but we should be seeing the river. I guess we would see that once we get a little bit closer. Rambler is still behind us. Let's throttle back a little bit as we come off the autopilot here, and we will prepare to begin our descent. Alright, we're going to do one thing here. Formation.
2, welcome. 3, come.
Spread out. We're going to spread out the wingmen just so on the way back out, when I close them back up, that'll give us the wingman reporting in. Down we go. Let's get those nav lights off. Not that it really matters during the day. It's not like the lights on are going to give us any extra visibility, but we'll just secure them for the attack portion here. We're coming down a little hot. Back the radar down to 40 miles now. And into the clouds at 18,500 feet. It's a little bit more than that. And let's double check our HUD. In-game HUD. Yep, we've got the primary target selected. So as long as I don't deselect it by accident, we'll be able to order the wingmen to attack once we get close.
Dagger, lead, red crown, bogey, right 1 o'clock, 50 miles, Angel 5, heading west.
Angels 5, so they're down low. We're still a little fast. Rambler is behind me. Still, we are the strike aircraft. We really shouldn't be leading the charge into the jaws of the MiGs.
Multiple bandits, right 1 o'clock, 50 miles, Angel 15, heading southwest.
All right, so 2 flights of MiGs, one down low at 5,000 feet and one up at 15,000 feet. Interesting. Nothing on the search mode.
Red Crown, Kingfish lead. We're at the rendezvous point.
Kingfish 1, red crown, copy that.
All right, well, there's people rendezvousing maybe with those Navy Phantoms.
Buick lead. Passing waypoint 4.
Buick 1,
Yeah, so Kingfish and Buick just hooked up. So maybe their strike is going to follow after ours. Again, it wasn't even in the same area. It was out in a near a different city. But splitting the strikes like this maybe forces the North Vietnamese to split their defensive forces. So maybe the MiGs are going to have to choose one or the other. No targets still. Let's look at ground mode here. We're still 26 miles out. So came down a little bit harder than I wanted to. So back on the power. We'll just do a longer low altitude, high speed run. So let's go ahead and put terrain avoidance on. So as I mentioned in the first or second episode, we've got this adjustable clearance there on the left, which is, here in the game it's set automatically at 500 feet. So the terrain avoidance radar is going to display terrain that is within that 500 feet. And in real life, that was selectable. You could go 100 feet, you could go 1,000 feet. You would select the plane underneath the aircraft that the radar is going to detect land, detect ground. So it's picking up something off to our left here. Oh, I'm scared too a little bit. Too close to the ground. No need for the afterburner. I'm assuming that our speed limit here is going to be 550 knots, just based on the fact that they're all missiles. We have sidewinders, which basically, for all intents and purposes, do not have any restrictions. And we've got the Bullpups, which are missile-shaped and probably don't have much of a restriction either. Our main restricting agent would be potentially the fuel tanks, the drop tank. And of course, those are 600 knots, so let's just assume 550. Honestly, though, I'm at full mill power here. And I'm just going to keep it there without going into afterburner, and I think we're going to be okay with that. There's ground map mode. All right, we can see our two cities, Vietnamese and Phu. Phu out to the left. Vietnamese is going to be directly ahead. Let's go down through this valley, through the little notch. We've left this way, going the opposite direction. Now we're going to come down through the same notch and the other way.
Red crown. Copy that.
And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a crack at this train first with my weapons.
Dagger, lead. Red crown. Bandit, right 2 o'clock. 20 miles. Angel 10, heading northwest.
Right. There we go. 14 miles out from the target.
Red crown. Kingfish, lead.
Oh, shit.
Target 5 minutes out. Kingfish 1, red crown. Copy.
We got MiGs. 6 o'clock high.
Red crown.
Quest help.
Answer waypoint 5. Rambler 1, red crown. Copy. Dagger
Flight 1, engage ground.
Roger. Vectoring additional fighters to your area. Red crown.
I hope those are our guys. I think those are our escorts back there. Okay, we're in good shape.
Bison 1, red crown. Copy.
That was scary. They came right over the top of us. I may have been a little preemptive with the wingman. Hey, everyone, hold on, get back together.
Copy that. Rejoining formation.
Okay, there is the bridge. One more check to make sure we are good to go. And actually, we're quite in range.
Box 2.
Flight 1, engage ground. Wingman, attack my target. Get it down here. Okay. There's our target. Here we go, Bullpup. Away. All right. Look at it go. Oh, and it lands short. Firing the second one. Probably too close. Oh, and it missed as well.
I see them.
Full afterburner. We're out the other side. We've got crazy flak coming from somewhere.
Box 1. Box 1.
Let's just tell the whole flight to attack my target. All right, what do I got here? Just... Oh, holy shit. All right, we are just in high G, pulling 6 Gs through this turn back over the top of the target. There's one of my guys.
Dagger, lead.
And that's a hit.
Mission complete. Good job. Return to base. Copy that. Returning to formation.
firing rockets, perhaps at AAA. Oh, stations! Jesus Christ! All right, all these gunners took yesterday off, but they are back from vacation now. Down nearly to 600 knots, getting right down on the deck. Time to exit stage right. Let's jog over to the right side of this hill here on the way out. And do low stage afterburner. I'm tempted to just let everyone engage some ground targets and blow up some AAA, but it's not really the smartest thing to do. That's a good way to just get people killed for no reason, so it's not our job. We hit that train, so let's go. Okay, off the afterburner. Where? Let's see. Where is the nearest threat? Left 8 o'clock, 10 miles at Angels 10. All right, so we are clear of whatever was going on. In fact, someone just got another bandit. Back and to our right. Huge amount of combat going on back there.
Fox 2. Red Crown, Kingfish Fleet, passing waypoint 7.
Kingfish 1. Red Crown. Copy that. Bandit.
Oh, there's waypoint 6, turning to waypoint 7 now. Oh shit, SAMs are up today too. Nothing out this far, I would assume, but looks like they're shooting at the guys that are downtown. Here we go, Bison 3 is engaging a MiG. Looks like a Sidewinder just missed. He is right behind this guy though. More missiles out. Not clear if it's this guy. Man, he is lining up his shot here, isn't he? There we go. Sidewinder away. It's tracking. And it's a miss. Jeez, I was sure that was a guaranteed hit. Here's their target. We have a snakeskin J5. Down low here. I guess at medium height. Jeez, what's he do? Oh my god, he pulled in right behind this Bison Phantom. Although he is not pressing the attack for some reason. Curious. Someone else firing at this guy. There is a second Phantom behind. Oh, I think I see it. 6 o'clock high behind this guy. White smoke. Oh, yep, here it comes. Is he gonna hit? Oh, it's tracking. Oh, and it's a hit. J5 down. Finally, one of those Sparrows hit something. Took long enough. That's that 87% failure rate in action. Only 13% effective, so am I doing that math right? Not good at math. On the fly. I gotta write it down. Use all my fingers and toes, you know?
Splash 1. I'm hit, taking damage.
You have an active SAM site here. This is over by Bac Giang on the other side of Hanoi. Got a spoon rest radar there with several missiles on launch rails, -1, the one that just departed in a hurry.
SAM launch! 2, Roger. 3, Roger that.
All three wingmen still with us. 234 checking in. More SAMs launching
Roger.
out by Hanoi. And air combat continues as well. So I think maybe those green J5s, that was sort of in our area. Maybe they are the ones that came over the top of us.
Kingfish 1, Red Crown. Copy that.
We'll go back in a second and look. There is another flight of bare metal MiGs out as well, and I think that was the second flight that we were told about. They're further out. They're closer towards the coast out there.
Copy that.
SAM inbound.
Geez, more SAMs.
Outbound Winchester.
Red Crown, Rambler East, fasten waypoint 8. Rambler 1, Red Crown. Copy.
So yeah, they're out over the ocean here, and I see different planes. Oh, there's a missile streak going underneath us. Looks like there's an F4 down low chasing a MiG to the left. Oh, and there's the smoke trail. Yep, silver J5 down. One of the red tails. So who got that kill exactly? Here we go. It was this guy. It was Buick 4 VF-41 Phantom, number 5545. He just knocked that guy down. In fact, you can see the smoke plume down there. Oh, and he just crashed. Whoa! What was that? Oh, it's just he's getting back in formation. I thought tracers were going by him. It was wingtip vortices from his leader there. Wow, so he is... Oh no, not completely Winchester, but he is out of Sidewinders. He's fired one Sparrow. So heavy action today for these guys, for VF-41. There's their number 3, there's number 2. So all 4 of them are actually still flying. Here's the Anvil aircraft. These are the Marines. All 4 still going of those, so they were okay. Bison flight, not looking good. VF-114 Phantoms. So 2 is now in command. Their leader was shot down. 3 is still with them. 4 still with them. So they lost their leader. There's Bison 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4. Rambler's doing okay. The Sundowners, they're spread out. Maybe indicating that they did do some fighting, but all 4 of them are still airborne. He's actually... So Rambler 3 fired 2 missiles.
Copy that.
Rambler 4 fired 2 missiles. So they either scored some kills. Oh man, people are still firing. We got a red-tailed J5 out here. Wow, just missed that Sidewinder. I don't know how it didn't airburst. Well, that one was way off, but that first one was so close. That one should have detonated just from proximity. The proximity fuse should have gone off, but failed. Man alive. This is one of the last... Let's turn the HUD off here. This is one of the last MiGs up, I think, here. Looks like he's maybe just trying to head for home. We'll see if someone can bag him before he gets there. This F4 is, after firing, is now lazily sort of circling in front of him. I think we're over Nam Dinh here. He is sort of turning to follow, but not really. Not really sure what's going on here. Well, back to us. We're 8 miles out from our waypoint. from NKP and the border of Thailand. So we're doing fine. I'm just going to continue here and I guess probably check back in with you as we're getting ready for landing. Right, we're down here at 2,000 feet, making our turn to final. Not to final, but making our final waypoint towards the airfield here. Interestingly, the wingmen have not separated from me this time out. So I guess we'll keep them in tow as we do our overhead. We're approaching from the south today. Oh, look at that. Bison flight is here with us. I wonder if they actually, did they come from Tockley? Or, no, maybe they came from Korat, which I think is further west, right? Interesting. Well, yeah, these guys are just right in formation with me, so. All right, fellas. Let's keep it snappy, parade formation, and then we'll do a nice, pretty break.
Dagger 1, tower, wind 120, at 5, runway 36.
And again, landing with a quartering tailwind. I mean, I suppose I could always just go around and actually land into the wind.
Dagger 1, tower, wind 120, at 5. Check wheels down.
But then if the wingmen are coming from the other direction, then we're doing a head-on opposing landing. That's fine.
Red crown. Copy.
It's only 10 knots. I might start doing that in the future, though. Maybe I'll just say, screw you, tower, I'm going to land the way that I'm going to land. What is 2 doing? Well, so much for keeping it snappy. He's all over the place.
Request to check Joker.
Flight 1, return to base.
Roger that. Heading back to base.
Around we go. There's 275. So we're coming out on downwind here. There's gear down, flaps deployed. Still a little fast. A little bit of air brakes. So why don't we go full air brakes out, and then we'll come up on the throttle a bit. We're landing with about 3,200 pounds of fuel still, so quite a lot, relatively speaking. Didn't have as far to go today, so a little better on the fuel efficiency. Stall speed is 160 knots. We're at 185 and a little low here. Touch power. Ah, that looks pretty good. Roger that. Just a couple knots fast as we're down over the threshold here. And ooh, a bit of float. But there's 155 as we touch down. Let's try to maintain that 10 degrees nose up this time, yes. Relax back pressure. Another happy landing. We would have deployed the drag chute. F-105s always landed with the drag chute. They would not detach them. They would actually taxi them in, dragging behind them, and then they would be detached and repacked as necessary back in their landing stall. But obviously not a feature here in the game, unfortunately. And we're a bit hot coming down to the end. All right, touch the brakes. And about to be clear of the runway. We'll pull up here into the arming area and get the tag stuck back into the ordnance still on the plane, and then we'll taxi back and shut down. And we'll see you back in the debriefing as usual. Another successful mission today as we take a look at our results. We were to strike the train located in Viet Tri. Flight time was 1 hour, 9 minutes, 33 seconds. Primary target was destroyed. One F-105 was damaged. That I'm surprised by. One of the wingmen maybe picked up some flak on the way through there. But rating of success, only a score of 250. Probably because it was only one target, and I guess the trains are scored kind of low, I suppose, but still a success, and that counts towards many things like promotions, awards, even progress of the campaign to some extent. So I fired both of my Bullpup missiles, and while they should have been in range, the first one tracked low, and then the second one was maybe too close. I fired in desperation, and it also arced down and hit short of the target. So, unfortunate. But luckily, Second Lieutenant Null, he dropped his 6 750-pound bombs, which got the job done, getting 3 kills, which probably, I would guess, the train and probably 2 segments of track. Something to that effect. I guess we'll see in a second. And then these guys fired some rockets at something. We saw one of the wingmen firing randomly down at, I was assuming, a AAA site of some kind, but no one got any hits with those either. Everyone continues to be alive. That was alive when we left, so that's always good. Here's our log. Both of my ineffectual Bullpup fires. Here's all the Hydras fired. And I want to see who got hit here. Well, here's Null. And he destroyed... Yeah, I knew it. He destroyed 2 rail 100s. I'm guessing that's like a 100-meter segment. But he destroyed the rail tracks as well as the train with the 750-pound bombs. Curious. It's not actually telling me that anyone was hit. Let's see, am I just not seeing it? Fired at Bradley. Fired. Fired, anti-fired. Yeah, curious. So it's not actually showing any enemy damage on the F-105s. I wonder if in fact maybe the ordnance going off, maybe Null was too close to the ground and actually got a little bit of shrapnel damage from his own bombs. Doesn't specify here, but as far as I can see, we were not hit by any sort of enemy action. Could have been a flak burst going off as well, I suppose. Sort of incidental damage. Of course, the game doesn't specify who was hit or how badly. It just says that one was damaged, but no one was wounded. So I guess minimal. All right. Another one in the books. That's number 14 down as we continue to, I don't know, crawl through October. This is going to be a long month if we're going to be doing missions every day, but I guess we'll see how that turns out. So join me again next time as we continue the carnage against North Vietnam, and hopefully not so much of the carnage against our poor F-105s. Yeah, enjoy this episode. I'll see you next time.